And the crucial issue here is, as Maajid pointed out, that the link between ideas and behavior, which is just denied across the board on what we're calling the regressive left side of the political spectrum, and those people who just followed Noam Chomsky off the edge of the world and believe that everything that is happening in the Muslim world is the result of U.S. foreign policy. There are no monsters in the world apart from ourselves or those we've made. We created the Mujahideen. We created Al-Qaeda. We broke Iraq, and therefore ISIS emerged. The Charlie Hebdo cartoonists were murdered because France treats its Muslim population so badly. I mean, this is pure masochism and delusion. There are a set of very illiberal ideas. We're talking about theocracy. We're talking about people who are opposed to gender equality, to gay rights, to free speech above all. I mean, the freedom that guarantees all of our intellectual and moral advances. And we have people on the left who will blame, I mean, we have cartoonists who get murdered, liberal cartoonists get murdered for drawing cartoons, and people on the left line up to blame the cartoonists for their insensitivity. That's how far this rot has spread into it just driven us into these preposterous moral stances. And that's why I think this conversation I had with Maajid was so valuable to me, because he really alone among all the people I've interacted with could clarify these issues from the point of someone who has this lived experience. And yet that hasn't stopped liberals from deriding him as an Uncle Tom or a porch monkey or a native informant. I mean, these are words that have come from liberal journalists. It's quite an incredible situation we're in.
Maajid, Nawaz, you probably have not been able to see much of our presidential debates here, but if you were allowed one question at one of our presidential debates, what would that be?
Would it be a question at the Republican or the Democrat debate?
Well, let's say the Republican. Let's say the Republican debate.
Well, in which case, I would certainly focus on both Trump's apparent acquiescence at a member of his audience in one of his debates, when somebody suggested that Muslims need to be dealt with across America, and Ben Carson's comments that you've just referred to. For me, look, the issue is very clear, and Sam and I agreed with this in our dialogue. The issue, the challenge, the problem is certainly not Muslim Americans. In fact, you know, and it's worthwhile mentioning, the American public is less likely to vote for atheists than they are for a Muslim president. So in fact, both those groups face incredible degrees of discrimination. But they are not the problem. The problem is those who politicize their view of religion. The problem are those Islamists that we name. And I'd like to make that very clear in the form of a question to either Trump or Ben Carson, and present liberal Muslims as an example of people that could be incredibly good presidents of the United States if they were ever given that opportunity.
And what about the Democrats? What would you raise with them?
I think with the Democrats, it would be a question of foreign policy. To be frank, as I hinted at earlier, I'm incredibly let down, I feel, by the approach to the Middle East, the approach to the growth of jihadism as a subset of the Islamist ideology in the Middle East. I think I'd suggest to them to take a lead from Prime Minister Cameron, who has overcome what I've come to rephrase as the Voldemort effect in his overcoming the fear of naming the Islamist ideology. And I would suggest to the Democrats that they should take a leaf from his book.
Sam Harris and Maajid Nawaz, thank you both very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. The book is Islam and the Future of Tolerance.